So I'd like to get started by introducing our speakers, starting with Kimberly Sims, the Chief Customer Officer of Planful. Kimberly, welcome and great to see you again.
You too. Thanks for having me, Peter.
Yeah, no, thrilled to have you here. Can you just tell us all a little bit about your background in customer experience, Kimberly, and in about customer experience in general, how it works at Plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, I'm the chief customer here at Planful. I've been here for about 3.5 years, but in all reality, I've been doing this for about 25 years now in customer facing roles. And I'm super passionate about our customers' experience with us across the entire customer journey. At Planful, we take it very seriously. As you may know, Peter, as you recall, customers are really truly our number one value at Planful. And we really don't just say it. It's not just sitting on a wall. We live and breathe it. Every single executive from the tops down through our entire organization believes that the customer journey and the experience our customers have with us as a company and our technology are first and foremost everything that we do. So we're very passionate about it here. We've got some pretty cool things to share with the audience today.
Great. And just tell us a little bit about Planful. I know everybody, I'm sure, knows Planful, but give us a little bit of a sense of what Planful's all about.
Yeah, sure. So Planful is a solution that's really meant to support the office of the CFO. So it supports both finance teams and accounting teams with their budgeting processes or forecasting, their consolidations, account reconciliations, and anything you can think that correlates to a planning or a close process. Planful really does step in to help support that. We also support a number of operational use cases such as marketing planning, supply chain planning, workforce planning. Really, it's bringing all of those planning processes together with a financial lens on it to better set your organization up for success.
Excellent. And Planful, California-based company with many hundreds of employees, over 1,000, I can't remember, but a good size company. I've been around for about 20 years. Really fantastic company. So thank you, Kimberly. And next up, I wanted to introduce Sanjay Kinney, who's the Chief Customer Officer of 6sense. So Sanjay, thank you very much for joining us, and it's great to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Peter. I'm excited to do this session with you guys. You asked me, like, what's my background? I've been in the software SaaS industry for over 25 years now. I started off in engineering for a couple of years and then quickly realized I wanted to be customer facing. So I spent a majority of my career as a sales engineer and leading sales engineering teams, and then moved on to customer success for the last 10 years or so. With a company, like you said, 6sense, been here about 7 years now. We were $5 million, 25 people when I started. We're about 1,200 people, over $200 million now. And we help companies like you as well as Planful to help you guys get your revenue and pipeline numbers up. And we do that using AI, and we figure out, okay, if there are all these accounts in your ICP, which ones should you go with right now because they're in a buying cycle. And, for my 2024, the biggest things that we're trying to deal with from a customer perspective is how do we make sure that our customers are adopting our software and are seeing a lot of value out of the software itself. And then while we're doing that, this is the problem I'm sure all of us are facing. We have fewer people, more customers. We have to be more productive. So this talk is so apt for the times right now. So we have to do all that with fewer people.
Well, excellent. And we're going to come back to some of those points that are important for you in a little while, Sanjay, when we get there. But just to finish our introductions, last but not least, we have Scott Romiser, who's the Chief Customer Officer for GoTo. So, Scott, you're the only one who didn't have a choice to be here, but welcome anyway.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So tell us a little bit. You've been around for a long time. Tell us a little bit about your journey and your approach, and a little bit about your customer success operations here at GoTo.
Certainly. So I've been here for over 20 years now in some way, shape, or form. The company today is very different than the company I joined, which was less than 100 people, sub 20 million. We're a vastly different company today. But my journey started in really go-to-market operations, so helping our go-to-market function, sales and marketing, acquire new customers, expand customers, and really helping drive the systems, tools, and processes to optimize those motions and get the most out of our spend and most out of our teams. About 15 years ago, I shifted to focusing on post sales. And that's really where I started to focus on the support organization, thinking about customer success and what does that look like, as well as the voice of customer programs to really make sure, as Kimberly was saying, the customer can be at the heart of every decision that we're making across the business. And it's been a lot of learnings along the way. Some things have worked, few have not. When they haven't, pivoting quickly, and hopefully we'll share some of those nuggets, in this session as well. But it's exciting to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome, Scott. So you were at least one of the top three on my list. Let me put it that way, not to offend anyone. So as you can see, we've collected an amazing group of leaders. I wanted to spend a couple of minutes just to help you understand the bona fides of the team here. They're quite accomplished in this area, and our goal here again is to really help you learn from their experiences and try to be as practical as possible so that you can take the learnings that you get from here and try to put them into practice as soon as you possibly can. So before we dive into the discussion, I wanted to just frame briefly the challenge that we're dealing with in the world. And I don't want to dwell on it because I think you all know the challenges. So, and I don't want to be preachy telling you basic things that you all know about the value of the customer because you're all in this world. This is what you do. But let me just set a little bit of a context that I think is going to be important. First of all, we all know that customer experience and supporting our customers and creating enduring relationships is important. We all know that customers are super valuable, and it's obviously easier to retain a customer than it is to get a new one. All those things you live every day in and out. The challenge that I think is most profound as customer experience leaders is that your teams are not only charged with delighting customers and improving retention, but you also have to do that while you're reducing the cost of support at the same time. And it's this incredible balance that you have to strike where, of course, customers should be at the center of the universe. At the same time, you have to, as business executives, you have to find ways to continue to find operational efficiency so that you can delight those customers while also saving as much as you can and spending as little as possible while not sacrificing on that delight. So speaking of that balance, I wanted to start with our first topic with you, Kimberly. So Kimberly, how do you approach that ever-increasing need for improving productivity and balance it with the need to create high-quality customer interactions at the same time?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I will say we are constantly learning and working to improve that as a key goal of ours too. So I'm sure I'm not alone with the audience out there. But, it does really start with what I talked about before with the customer experience and ensuring customers stay first and foremost. And when I say tops down, it means even our engineers, right? They have to be thoughtful in terms of how we engage with customers. So that whole experience factor flows all the way through the customer journey, especially on the support side of things. But when I think about, some of the things that we've done to really try to scale our team, one of the things that we did is really start to analyze the types of tickets that we have. So for example, when you start to see that you're getting a large volume of tickets all centered around something in the product, well, can we work with our product team to address that issue to reduce the volume of tickets? So we've actually had some pretty great success with that by finding some low-hanging fruits in pockets where we see a high number of support tickets, and we're able to improve the product, which not only reduces the number of tickets, allows us to scale, but it actually improves the experience for the customer because they don't have to open a ticket in the first place. So I would really encourage the audience to look at the analytics of the types of tickets that you're getting, because you'll find that there's probably some efficiencies there to be had. We do a lot in terms of job aids, and I don't think that's new to anybody else out there, but that when you have responses to common types of tickets, how can you look for automation? And we'll talk about AI, I'm sure, at some point during this call. But there's a lot of ways to start to improve the generation of responses and how you respond through chatbots and through tickets and so forth. So looking at technology is a really, really important thing to do as you're looking to scale your organization. Another way that we leverage that technology is by encouraging our teams to communicate. So by centralizing information about the customer in one central tool. So when a support agent engages with that customer, it's not like the first time they've ever talked to them. They've got a little background about the customer. They've got information about their use case. So leveraging technology and tools to not only create a better experience, but also improve the efficiency of how they engage with the customer to get to the root cause a lot quicker. So the last thing I'll add is we do a lot of focus on soft skills training. About 80% of our workforce is offshore. And so for us, it's very important that we are constantly looking at how we engage with our customers so they have a really good experience with us. So I would say probably my 3 key takeaways on that question, Peter, are let's really start to look at the analytics of the types of tickets that you're getting. Can we improve the experience and reduce the tickets? Looking at technology to share information about a customer so it's at the front and ready, leveraging job aids and such. And then finally, just ensuring that everybody who engages with the customer is using really good language to engage with the customer for a good experience, including the engineers when they write an RCA. Is it written in English so a customer can understand what happened? So we put a lot of focus on that. Does that answer your question?
That's really great. And I know when we were talking about this topic the other day, I know you had some thoughts too, Sanjay. So feel free to weigh in because I know you're chomping at the bit there.
No. I mean, what Kimberly said totally resonated with me, especially like looking at the tickets and dividing them up into product areas, which we do as well. But I was just going to say a couple more things I was going to add. One was when you think about agent productivity, we look at it in 2 different ways. How many cases can each agent take on per week? And then the other one is you take the number of customers and divide them up by the number of agents. You say, okay, what is the ratio of number of customers divided by agents? And we've tried to improve productivity on both those fronts. And a couple ways we've done that is we rolled out a community called Rev City, where all our customers can come and get all kinds of certifications and FAQs, which have really helped reduce the number of cases as well as, start to go more towards self-service. And one of the cool things that we've seen now is that when customers post a question, we have other customers who are now responding to that question. And the average time it takes is now 11 minutes, which is really cool. But again, that improves the productivity of our agents at 6 Sense.
That's amazing. And I think that idea of building customer community is great. It's got many levels of benefit, obviously. Not only is it an efficiency thing, but customers feel like they're part of a community, which really helps with the other side of that equation. It's this combination of making sure that it's efficient, but really centrally making sure that you're creating this great experience at the same time. And Scott, I was going to ask you, we were talking about this the other day, the idea of when you insource and outsource, because people often think, well, if I want to save money, maybe I just outsource everything. Obviously, there's some important considerations with that approach. What are your thoughts on insourcing, outsourcing, offshoring, nearshoring, et cetera?
Yep. Yes. Great question. And I might have a bias, so I'll be the first to kind of admit that, based upon experiences that we've had here. About 7 years ago, we really leaned into outsourcing. So we identified a third party, and we went very aggressive into outsourcing. And it was for the initial KPIs we set up front, it was fantastic. We transitioned in less than 9 months. All of our calls were being handled by this third party. We ramped up. We had subject matter experts on site. For ride-alongs, on average, 2 to 3 people per week were embedded at this customer site. The challenge we had was we couldn't get to the tenure that we needed to build that subject matter expertise, to build that tribal knowledge that is so important in delivering, I think, amazing support experiences. There are things you don't control when you are the employer. And we found out that when we couldn't get the tenure beyond 11 months, the lagging indicator there or impact was that the CSAT score dropped 20 points compared to our in-house operation. We obviously invested a lot more to try to get that to kind of pivot back. We were unsuccessful. So we brought it back in-house, but in an offshore way. And so now we've stood up an offshore team that are GoTo employees. So we can control things like the culture, their career pathing, and things like that. And we have completely right-sided the ship from a customer CSAT standpoint and actually improved it. We are 25 points above where we were with a third party. And our average tenure of our team right now is 4.2 years, just to put it in perspective. So, and obviously it's grown. And so with that growth, there's been a lot of career opportunity, which has also helped as well with that tenure.
So, Scott, that's great. Thank you. And I do want to say that also the three of you as customer experience leaders represent companies where you have fundamentally differentiated yourself by delivering great customer experience. And that kind of listening to customers and adapting is one of the key reasons why you've created that great experience for your customers. So now, Scott, I want to stay with you for the next section. We're on 2 of 3, by the way, for those of you who are following at home. So point 2 that we wanted to bring up was really about another balance question. It's balancing driving performance from your support teams while maintaining retention. And it's timely that you just mentioned the really long tenure of your team. So how do you balance that, taking out the cat o' nine tails and trying to, whip them into shape and get as much performance out of your team, while also making sure that you are maintaining the kind of staff retention that creates great customer experiences?
Yeah, that's a great question, Peter. And I think about it in kind of 2 ways. One is, are we enabling our agents with the right tools, processes, systems, and information to do their best work? And if you do that, you can actually then hold them accountable to be efficient and things like that. So that's kind of one way I look at it. And then the next lens I look at is, are you doing the things that make your agents want to build a career with you versus viewing you as a job? And so I'll maybe tackle those in kind of those 2 fashions. So one, when you think about, the tools, processes, information, and let's throw knowledge in there as well, right? So I think it was Kimberly who referenced earlier around a system. They're looking at a system that provides all the history of the customer interaction. So they're not coming in cold to a conversation. So, when I think about our CRM, it includes all the ticketing information, usage and adoption, customer sentiment. It focuses on, any agent has a lot of information around that customer, around how are they using the product, what are the features and functionality that have been adapted or have not. And then also embedded in there is this concept of a health score, right? Is not only, how are they using and adapting, but what is their sentiment and what does that suggest? We've done a lot of analysis that gives us, scores our customers, call it ABC, DF, that gives us a sense they're likely to renew and expand on that. So when I talk about, helping our agents do their best work, it's all about the right tools, information, and processes and knowledge, right? And knowledge is, do they have the right soft skills that was referenced earlier? Do they have the right product knowledge? All of those things are all about helping your agents do their best work. And when you enable them to do their best work, the expectations you can put or expect from them can be on the higher range as well. And then pivoting to the second part of the question, I think career pathing is critical in these types of roles. A lot of times these roles can be transient. And if you lean in and think about it as how do you help your agents build a career? How do you coach and mentor them? How do they progress through your support organization? But also, as importantly, maybe move out of your support organization into engineering or into sales, other parts of the organization. That is really, really, really important as well. And then lastly, I would say around, the agents is you need to have fun, right? These roles, you're dealing with customers that tend to be unhappy. You need to infuse a little bit of fun into your operation and your culture, whether those are happy hours or small competitions that you put together. There's a fun factor that really plays here as well. And I have found that the fun factor, that cultural aspect, really fits in well with what typically the types of people that join support teams and are members of support teams.
Yeah, Scott, just to chime in there, I totally agree with everything you just said with regards to how to retain your talent in your organization. Just having, again, 80% of our organization offshore, the war for talent is tough. And you've got to stay on top of what's happening with your competitors and what's happening with salaries. But salary isn't everything. And, I really do agree with you in terms of career development. At Planful, we've developed a very, very well-defined career progression path for all of our agents. And as part of that, it's involving investing in them and their skill set and their knowledge and their training, access to tool, all the things you said. And we really do a lot of focus on recognition as well. I have a phenomenal support team leader who does actually a monthly call with all of her agents, and they call out specific agents who had great CSAT scores or great remarks for customers. And we really do a good job, I believe, in recognizing our agents. So not only are they developing in their careers, we're calling out their successes on a regular basis, and we are paying competitively, but we try to strike that balance because you've got to stay on top of their happiness and their support. Otherwise, you're definitely at risk for the talent being swiped up from your competitors out there.
If I might just add to the recognition thing, I think that's very crucial. A lot of times, as you guys know, in tech companies, the sales teams and the CS teams end up taking all the glory. And, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes that agents help. So we have this thing called WinWire at 6 So every time a deal closes, the rep manager actually posts like a WinWire on how we did the deal. And that's where we also recognize our agents and say, hey, by the way, we closed this 400K deal, but it would not have happened, or renewal, it wouldn't have happened if this agent. And those little things actually really matter, even though it's not monetary. People really want to be seen on that WinWire to say, hey, I helped close a deal.
Really great points. And all those things I think are going to drive the kind of retention that we all need to create long-term healthy employees who are creating great customer experiences. So really, really great stuff. And Sanjay, I wanted to stay with you for the last topic, but before I get there, I just wanted to remind the audience here, if you have questions about any of the topics that we're bringing up, write them down, put them in the question area of the interface here, and we're going to have some time at the end of this session to answer your questions. So I hope you engage with us and ask some of the questions that you may have for some of these great leaders in customer experience. So a question commercial over, and Sanjay, now coming back to you, as you look at the optimization of your customer operations, how do you leverage analytics to optimize both the operational performance, but also the business performance for 6
No, thanks for asking me, Peter. So, I think being data-driven is really important to us at 6 And we have this one popular thing we use at 6 we call inspect what you expect. You guys might have heard that. But in order to inspect, you need to have good data at your fingertips. You need to have dashboards to figure out how to maneuver the organization. And, that's really important for us. A lot of times, people come up with ideas and say, oh, I think we should do that, or I have a feeling, or this one customer said, let's do this. And we're like, where's the data, right? To back it up with data. A lot of times we have to have the data. So I'm going to give you two different perspectives, one from a support perspective and then also from a CS, customer success perspective. And how data really helped us. So about 2 years ago, we were getting maybe 350 cases or so per month. And we realized that almost 80% of these cases were going to engineering. And that was all, again, data driven. And what that told us is now as we grow as a company, it's not sustainable. We want engineers doing engineering and support being able to take on more cases. And fast forward 2 years, now we have engineering doing only 20% of the cases and support doing 80%. But now we have 1,200 cases instead of 300 per month because we have 4 times the customers. So imagine if we hadn't done that, right now our engineers would be spending all their time doing 800, 900 cases a month, which we were able to kind of nip at the bud like a couple of years ago. Another great example is, we do NPS twice a year, and we measure it across product, customer success, and support. So we have an overall NPS about high 30s, close to 40. We're trying to get to 50. But what we found that when support cases were not handled correctly, and when we had support not responding in a timely manner or not solving their issues, the NPS actually dropped under 20 to in the teens. And what was also surprising is that, if there were no support issues, the NPS was a little higher than the average that we have, like low 40s. But the most surprising thing was when we did have a support case and it was solved really well and it was solved in a timely manner, our NPS jumped to 60. And what does that tell you? It tells you that it's okay to have support cases as long as you give them a good experience. It's actually better than the customers who have no support cases. So that was kind of eye-opening for us, and we really learned a lot from that. And then I think, Kimberly, you talked about that earlier as well. We try to slice and dice our product as well, product issues. So when it comes to product, we look at what are the subcategory level and what are some of the support cases that are coming in. And one of the examples was, we have 8 product areas, and one product area at that time, out of the 800 or so cases we were getting that month, 350 came from one area. So now we got our product team to then go and spend time with our customers, with our customer success people, customer support people, to figure out, okay, what do we need to do to get that better? And fast forward a couple quarters, that dropped from 350 to about 100, 150, but our cases went up. So the percentage went down tremendously. And a lot of that is due to being data driven. And on the CS side, it's really important for us to look at what we call leading indicators versus lagging indicators, like our renewals and upsells and all that are lagging indicators. We want to look at the health of the customer. So some of you might know 6sense helps multiple personas. So we help AEs and BDRs and demand gen and digital marketers and marketing ops, sales ops, executives. And we have different use cases for each of these personas. So what we do is we're able to track every single use case that every single customer has implemented. And then we give that a score of green, red, yellow. So I can now go into, like, in real time, look at any customer. What are the use cases? Green, red, yellow. What do we need to do to make it move it from yellow to green or red to yellow? So those are all the things that we do internally to make sure that our customer base is solid. And we had this big project last year called EDW, which is our enterprise data warehouse. So all the data flows in, and we're using a lot of AI now to try and figure out what are some of the things that we need to do to drive more adoption. So it's a very interesting time, but I would say, data is super key. And hopefully that was helpful.
That's really great. And I know, Scott and Kimberly, I know you both have some strong opinions about the use of data in the analytics. So what are your thoughts? Feel free to weigh in. Kimberly, from your perspective, how do you think about this analytical approach and maybe using AI tools to improve your operations for Plantful?
Yeah, if AI was ever a buzzword, I think it's this is the year, right? Everybody's talking about it. We've rolled out a chat bot, oh gosh, maybe a year and a half ago or so, an AI-driven chat bot that, it's trained to get smarter and smarter to answer customers' questions. And what we found is it's had a really nice, actually, we call it a deflection rate, where the customer is able to satisfy their question or ask through the chat bot, which avoids them having to even open up a ticket altogether. And we've had some really great success with that. We've seen, the volume of tickets go down. Customers are able to get what they need fast, and off we go. I think what's really neat is I think a lot of these chatbots and a lot of the services, all of these vendors are providing now are going to continue to evolve, leveraging generative AI technologies to help potentially even start to craft responses, leveraging your knowledge base, for example. So the ability to leverage AI assistants to write responses that are even more customer friendly, that answer their question quicker, I think is in our future. Potentially other ways to make the chatbot smarter, I think are coming. And then how we enhance our product to make the experience better. So those tickets that you get for how-to questions, those will start to go away by incorporating AI into your product too. So I think we're going to see AI hit in a lot of different ways. The overall experience with the product, how customers engage with us when they have a question or need support, and then how our agents respond and interact with our customers. I think you're going to see it pop up in all sorts of different ways. So it's a really exciting time, actually, because I think efficiency and scale and experience, I think it's all kind of married together here with where AI is taking us.
That's great. Scott, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I agree with everything Sanjay and Kimberly said. I think there's a challenge, though, that many support leaders are going to have to deal with is with all these new AI capabilities, there's going to be this temptation to embed AI in front of your support team. And there's no one size that fits all. So I think that every organization will need to apply a different approach. But I want to connect to the idea of using AI chatbots to deflect and to solve some of the simpler things that are coming into our call centers and our support agents. With the point Sanjay made earlier around sometimes your highest retaining customers, those that score you the highest, are the ones that engage with your support organization. Similar to what Sanjay shared, at GoTo, we recognize that customers that contact our support team are much more likely to retain and expand than customers that we never hear from. And so I think the balance we're going to have is how and where do you leverage AI, but not use it as a gate or a wall, to keeping your agent kind of too many kind of doors behind. And so how do you kind of balance that to drive, I think, the right customer experience, but keeping the channels open so your customers can get the support they need. And again, I think every company will be unique and different. But I think I would encourage every support leader to kind of think through that as they implement AI and how do you use it, where do you put it, and things like that.
I think that is such an excellent point, Scott, because you all know how it feels when you start to try to get in touch with somebody. You have to keep hitting one. Tell me what your answer is, and you get so frustrated. So we don't want to ever get to that point. I think I had that experience just the other day, in fact. So I completely agree with you. One of the things that we did with our chatbot is you always have the answer to exit out of the experience and say, talk to an agent, right? You've always got to give that human interaction experience there. And I totally agree with you. We actually look at stats on retention too. Those customers that don't engage with support, they're not engaged customers, and that's a red flag. So I completely agree with all of the points that you guys made, and it's finding that right balance so you don't create an automated kind of non-customer friendly experience. And we have to keep that in mind. So it's a good reminder, Scott.
Well, really great discussion about AI as well as the other topics. And I will just say, by the way, I hope you enjoyed the content that we shared with you today. If you are looking to modernize your customer experience environment, obviously we do that So I'd love you to spend some time and look at what GoTo offers from a contact center perspective. We're really proud of what we think is very practical AI capabilities that we built into our contact center. So everything from built-in sentiment analysis to some of the summarization of calls and all the things that you do with really practical kind of today applications of AI. So it's a great way to start to implement these practices. And if you're thinking of doing that, I hope you give us a look, and we'll have a link here somewhere where you can get some information and maybe see a demo of some of the latest and greatest stuff because it's very cool. So with that, wanted to move to our questions in just a second, but just to summarize, we talked about a bunch of things today in three major groups. We talked about striking this balance between improving productivity while maintaining high quality customer interactions. We talked about another balance, balancing driving performance out of your support organization and maintaining staff retention at the same time. And then the third main area was really about optimizing your customer operations and your business with analytics. And then we got into some really great discussion about AI. So I wanted to, before we move on to the Q&A, I just wanted to say thank you to Sanjay, to Kimberly, to Scott for sharing your decades of collective experience in customer experience. And I learned a lot today, as I usually do in these kinds of things. So thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to throw up a quick poll question for you. And so take a look at the poll question. Take a minute to respond to this. And then we're going to, when that is done and we collected your answers, we're going to move into Q&A. So make sure you write down those questions or think them up because we'd love to spend a few minutes answering your questions. So here comes the poll. There are a number of questions that came in. So Scott, I'm going to tee up a couple of these for you. So the first question is about automation and technology. So how can automation and technology be leveraged to optimize resource allocation and reduce costs? So similar to some of the content we talked about before, but talk specifically, Scott, about how you all have leveraged technology to try to make some of those things happen.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that question alone can probably take up an entire webinar or even webinar series. So let me hit a few areas on how leveraging automation and technology can drive operational efficiency and really kind of help drive better resource allocation. So first and foremost, in no specific order, I think this concept of self-service portals, a really strong knowledge base in FAQs. This is the way things were done, for many, many years. You write an article to address, the typical questions you see coming in. You try to use that as a level one to try to deflect from someone getting to your support center. And you can use community forums as well. I think Sanjay talked about the community that they were having as well. So you can use things like that to drive a lot of deflection and automation. And once you really have good knowledge and community forums and feedback documented somewhere, then you can really start stepping into the world of virtual and chatbots. Really using the AI today. AI, you really need some ground data and knowledge that it can leverage. And so the next thing you can do is when you have that, you go start leveraging AI chatbots and virtual assistants. And the great thing about AI chatbots and virtual assistants is they're available 24/7, much like self-service. And when you can deflect or use them to address some of the simpler types of questions that are coming into your call center, your support center, you can actually free your agents up to focus on more of the complex issues, right? And that's where and then the needs of the number of agents you might need may go down dramatically as well. So that's where you can get that operational cost. There are other things like AI-powered ticketing that can make sure when a ticket comes in, it gets routed to the right agent and the best agent that has that knowledge. So it's really that predictive routing to get you to the best skilled agent. And then I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but around kind of getting that unified customer profile, working out of a system where you have that 360-degree view. A lot of the investment in the technology to give you that 360-degree view will speed up the time to resolution, and also make sure that your resources are allocated in the right way as well. So those are just a few areas, Peter, that I would highlight around how technology and automation can really drive operational efficiency, in resource allocation.
Great, that's super helpful, Scott. And obviously, I mean, we do this kind of content because we make this stuff. And if you're interested, of course, in learning how to deploy some technical approaches to do that, one of the things that we're quite good at is supporting these kinds of applications, especially for those of our customers who have anywhere up to the hundreds of call center agents. We're not the people who are going to help you with the thousands and thousands of agents, but we're really good at that practical, really well integrated, really easy to deploy, and really nicely built in AI features to help make some of this stuff a reality. So end for the moment of that for that commercial, but want to make sure that you know that we're someone who you can call for those things. So second question we have, Scott, is about performance metrics. So specifically, the question is around how can performance metrics be used to consistently motivate and improve agent performance?
Yeah, another great question. So, as I shared a little bit earlier, having the right technology and knowledge is really important. But I think for all of us CX leaders, the real breakthrough comes when you can couple great technology with a very motivated and engaged workforce. And I think that's what this question really speaks to Peter. So when I think about that, as a frontline agent, you want to have clear and relevant metrics. You want to know what is expected of you. So that could be things like first response time, it could be resolution time, it could be CSAT or NPS, but you want to have clarity around how do you measure an agent's efficiency. And I'm always a big fan of it's not just an individual, it's an individual and a team, because there's so much cross-pollination that needs to happen. There's that tribal knowledge that someone that's been around 4.2 years will be able to share with someone who's been around 6 months. And so you really want to have a blend of individual and team goals. By the way, that also creates a little bit of kind of a healthy competition. Everyone wants to do their best work, so it creates a healthy competition. So that's one. Think about it as clear and relevant metrics. The next one is you have to not just have the metrics, you have to use them. So I think about, do you report on them? Okay, are you reporting on them on a daily, weekly basis? That's kind of question number one. Are you integrating them into your one-on-ones with your team? Are you integrating review of dashboards into your team meetings, right? If these metrics are very important and you want them to really motivate your team, you want to make sure they're front and center in how you engage and speak to your agents. So one is really incorporating the metrics into kind of how you engage and talk about it. The third area I think about is really positive reinforcement, right? You want to recognize and reward your top performers. You want to recognize and reward where you got great feedback from your customers. And the more public praise you can do as well, the more you highlight the importance of these things as well. And then maybe the last thing I'll mention is, looking at metrics and looking at metrics consistently, it helps to uncover the coaching and development opportunities you have. with every employee, right? Every employee wants to grow, they want to get better, and you can use these metrics and use the customer feedback that you capture to develop personalized coaching plans, to focus on development plans, really to help make your employees be the best they can be. And when you do all of that, in a sense, you almost empower your agents day in, day out to do their best work. And I think, it's not rocket science here, but it's using the metrics that we're already tracking through every touch point you have with your agents and with your team meetings and things like that.
It's super, Scott. So another question that just came in. So is part of your AI strategy to use it to automate everyday workflows of your team to give them more time to work with customers and excel at their jobs? So that it's a really interesting question. I'll start to answer it, and then you can feel free to pile in, Scott. So we think there's a really interesting opportunity to apply AI across a number of different areas. So one area is sort of automating workflow. So you can think about that as the end customer workflow around, can you provide automated support with AI? And Kimberly talked about the chatbot that they're using in Planful, and Scott and Sanjay, I think, use similar technologies in certain areas. So that's one thing to do. The second thing is about agent productivity, and there's some really interesting tools that we just launched in GoTo Connect that do things like summarize your calls for you, so that if there's a long call and a lot going on, it'll actually summarize everything for you so you know what's going on. So there's that text summarization kind of capability, and that's one example of many of sort of agent productivity kinds of things that you can do. And then there's a third category about sort of analytics and insight that are really interesting. Again, when you can take AI and basically start by transcribing what's going on. So if it's a call or a chat or both of those things, you take that data, normalize it into text, and then you start to do the text analysis to understand things like, are there themes that are coming up that are happening in aggregate? So are there topics that are coming up that you want to focus on as a business? And then even in real time, doing things like sentiment analysis with a call. So if a customer is getting really frustrated, as an example, you might want to flag that and escalate that to a supervisor who can then listen in and then ultimately barge into a call. So Scott, did I cover most of them?
Yeah, I think you hit exactly the way I would have answered it. I answer it in two ways. I answer it around, how do I provide more channels for our customers to get support? And that is really all about kind of deflection and improving a lot of our digital channels through the use of AI. And then I think about agent effectiveness and the agent experience, which you just were hitting on a lot of great examples there. And in both of those cases, they take different approaches, but they serve two very different audiences. Here we're using everything from AI Gen chatbots in conjunction with our knowledge center. We also are embedding that AI chatbot and knowledge center experience into the product experience as well. So our customers really never have to leave the product. They can get help from right within the product. And so if you're a GoTo customer, you'll see that more and more showing up in the product experience. It's not in every product yet. And then the other thing, which we just recently launched, is we're launching some voice AI agents as well to begin to test some similar, when people call in, to try to put them through a voice AI agent experience first to see if we can deflect some of the simpler calls, and really not have them wait in queue for an agent to become available. So it's actually getting to the customer issue faster and quicker. And obviously in that experience, we don't want to make it challenging to get to a live agent. So you can always, with the click of a button, bounce right back into a live agent queue and get a live agent on the phone. So it's really about giving customers choice and providing better support options as well for them.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott. And by the way, a number of questions about recordings and things like that people often ask about. And yes, we'll certainly do that. We'll send you some follow-up material relative to the recording, so you have all that and all the information kind of packaged up from from this. I think we have time for one more question, Scott. Let's see, which one do I do? There's so many good ones here. Great question here about specific best practices around integrating real-time analytics into decision making to get better business results. Any ideas, Scott, about some really specific best practices that you could think about?
Yeah, real-time analytics into decision making. Let me think about how we have done that one here. Yeah, so some of the things you hit on it a little bit earlier, Peter. You talked a little bit about sentiment analysis. I think that is probably there's two areas where I look at real-time analytics. One is sentiment analysis, using that natural language processing to understand what's happening live on a call. And listen, calls go sideways. It is people are calling in because they're challenged, and it's disruptive to their business. And so it's really as best you can identifying kind of real time challenging calls will allow you to surge either management into support, to surge more technical resources into support, to maybe bring in a subject matter expert if it's deep in a certain product that the agent that got the call isn't as well versed in. So I think using NLP and sentiment analysis real time is really important and an opportunity to really delight your customers when they really are having that moment of need. The second area that I know we use at GoTo is we continually monitor our queues. We have 12 different products in our portfolio. And our agents are skilled usually anywhere from 2 to 4 products. That allows them to get very deep in that product knowledge. And so what we do is we also have them kind of secondarily skilled around other products as well in the portfolio. And what that allows us to do is real time look at the queues, look at the number of calls waiting in queues, looking at our wait time to get to an agent, and we can dynamically move agents from queue to queue to provide the best level of consistent service across. It also allows us to surge agents. If we're seeing a surge, that we did a new product release and a lot of customers are calling in about a new feature and functionality or button in the product, and so the queue kind of spikes, we can surge resources over there to address those calls. If we run a sales campaign and customers start calling into the support center, we can surge resources over there. So using real-time analytics to map your resources to where you have the greatest need is another use case where we use real-time analytics every day.
Excellent. Well, Scott, thank you so much for your insights. Thanks to Kimberly and Sanjay. Thank you for all for listening today and participating. I hope you found the content that we shared today useful. So watch out for an email where we're going to send you the recording from the session as well as some other I think helpful content to help you think about how to continue to improve your customer experience as you go along. And I hope you have a fantastic day for the rest of your day, wherever you are around the world. And I hope to see you here again for the next in a long series, I think, of some great content we're putting together for customer experience and business communications overall. So thanks so much for dialing in, and thanks everyone for participating.